Hello and welcome to another one in the series of Azure Under the Hood webinars. My name is Robert Turnšek. We'll continue the story from the last time when we started with the Operations Management Suite, so Microsoft Operations Management Suite. Today we'll have the second part. So again, the agenda is typical as we have in our webinars. Firstly, we'll do some overview, which will be really short because we did the overview last time. Then we'll try to do as much as possible demos and show you something in the live environment. So that's the schedule agenda for today. So briefly, OMS solution. So OMS solution currently consists of 4 pillars. So basic is log analytics, which we covered last time. Then there is availability, which is backup and disaster recovery. So Azure backup and disaster recovery. And then on top of analytics, we have a security. So log analytics gets all the information from various systems. And then it depends how we see them. So from which point of view we look at these events, so different events, we can also get quite a lot of security information. So regarding patching, regarding failed logins, regarding accesses to files. We'll look at this at the end of today's webinar. The third pillar currently in the OMS is automation. So this is basically Azure automation, and I will show you today a little bit about the Azure automation. So that's the first topic we'll do today. From the last time, you remember, this is the Microsoft Operations Management Suite. So you have different solutions where each solution installs a dashboard, and then you drill down, and there is also quite powerful search. So the whole idea of the Operations Management Suite is that you are using the capabilities of the analytics and big data manipulation in the Azure cloud. So it works currently. It works better, or it works good together with on-prem System Center Operations Manager, but from what I see in the development of the product, which by the way is almost changing on the daily basis, that's the beauty of the cloud solutions. So Microsoft is adding new features all the time. Eventually have, let's say, at least some kind of, let's say, feature parity with the System Center Operations Manager. But currently, if you want to do some stuff, for example, want to modify some parameters, it's the easiest way to do in the SCOM. Another part where, let's say, you need SCOM is, let's say, you want to monitor or do the capacity planning on the Hyper-V cluster. So in that scenario, you would need Virtual Machine Manager and connect it to System Center Operations Manager, and then System Center Operations Manager connected to OMS. Yeah, it sounds complicated, but that's the way it is. So that's current state. Okay, so let's focus a little bit, few slides about the automation. They are from the last time. So for the guys who were not here on the first webinar. So automation, the idea is why we would do manually the task which can be done by your computers. So for example, patching, installing the agents, let's say for example, installing the OMS agents and this kind of stuff, everything can be automated. So the benefit of that is we don't have to do it manually, and if it's automated, if it works, let's say for 10 times, it will work another 20 times, so less error prone. And of course, everything with automation, you can do it in the Azure. The automation part is running in the Azure. So the let's say for those who are, let's say, used to more on-prem, there is an orchestrator as a part of the System Center. Their integration with the OMS is more in the, let's say, again, that you monitor and look how the automation is working. But all the stuff, all the configuration, runbooks, say inventories, all this stuff is done in the Azure. So that's the reason why I said at the beginning, it's basically Azure automation. But you get it in the package with the OMS. So if you remember from the last time, there are different, let's say, ways how to buy the OMS. So in the free tier, you get 500 minutes of automation running. So when you run the runbook, it takes some time. So you can do this for 500 minutes per month. If you need more, you have to go to the paid subscriptions. The idea of automation is that you can basically use PowerShell. So in most case scenarios, PowerShell, or you can even use the graphical interface. Then you can just add on the stuff like Legos. But again, this is, you see here commandlets. I will show this in the demo later on. So it's still PowerShell. So if you don't know the PowerShell yet, start learning it. It's very useful, not just for Windows. It's also becoming quite popular on the other systems. If we look from the, let's say, 10,000 miles on Azure automation, we have two stuff. So process automation, automate the processes, and the second part is the desired state configuration, so that we create some kind of rules what should be on our servers, and then this is, let's say, maintained by the Azure automation. As I said, Azure automation can be used for Azure resources, so that's quite naturally, and also on-prem resources. We are hybrid worker proxy, I call it. With hybrid worker, but I put the proxy word inside because what you do, so you dedicate one or more Windows Server machines with monitoring agent installed, and you change a little bit the configuration of that agent. You register it with the Azure automation, and then you can run the runbooks on-prem equipment. From the security point of view, is the hybrid worker proxy always connects to the Azure, so you don't need to open anything back to your environment. That's about security slides, but we'll go to demo. That's about the automation slides. So as I said, security are the different solutions on top of log analytics. We get, let's say, for example, we get security logs from Event Viewer, we get the audit logs from File Access, and then different, let's say, views. I will show also this later in the demo. I try to do some, let's say, simple attacks, so you will see some results. One of the focus of the security is patching and the updating. So if, let's say, your systems are up to date with the current patches, because that's usually the easiest way to break into your system if your servers are not patched. So imagine everybody is talking today about zero-day attacks, for those one you don't know. But if you don't patch the server, for you the zero-day attack is already a known attack, which everybody knows how to use it. Usually there are some already created some scripts on the internet, so you are totally unprotected. So for those who are, let's say, bragging around that their servers are 1,000 days alive, think again. It's security. It's a big security issue. And of course, there is a lot of audits, different views, searches. So that's the basic idea, that you can go quite deep and see who is trying to do what and do some correlation. I expect that the, let's say, log analytics and the security, there will be a lot of progress when Microsoft, let's say, adds more Azure analytics into the picture. Some good additional information. A lot of the stuff which we will do today, especially around automation, is from this ebook, which is available in the internet. This presentation is recorded, and you will get the whole stuff. So don't try to write the URL. But even if you want, just type into the preferred search engine inside the Microsoft OMS. It's quite a good book, 500 pages, and it explains quite in details a lot of stuff from the OMS. So all 4 pillars, and also the, I'll say, authoring of the solutions if you want to, let's say, change them. And you also get the PowerShell samples, so a lot of really cool stuff. The second link is Operation Management Survival Guide. This is basically a web page where Microsoft people, say some kind of bookmark page, where they create links to relevant information. So okay, that's from the PowerPoint. So let's go to the demo. First, I'll show you these 2 pages we were talking about. So So just download the OMS. These are all the chapters. Today we will be primarily in chapter 6. That's chapter 6 and chapter 8. So that's the, let's say, topic for today. So survivor guide, as I said, some kind of bookmark to channel 9, to webinars, to blog articles. It's changing daily also. One of the challenges with the Azure and the same with OMS is that it changes quite regularly. So the last webinar was when? Three weeks ago, I think, approximately 3 weeks ago, and some stuff is already different than it was 3 weeks ago. So yeah. And another good one is PowerShell Gallery. So those probably somebody of you already know it. And there is a lot of good stuff also here. So you have the packages which you can add to your Azure automation. So a lot of prepared either by Microsoft or community. So for example, if you go with desired site configuration, so you have different OMS and this kind of stuff, command-led functions, workflows. Okay. So that was for information. Let's start with the demo. Okay, another browser here. So as usual, we'll show how you do some stuff. So let's first focus on the automation. So here I'm logged into this my environment. If you remember, we have multiple subscriptions. I'm using the subscription called StoreSense here. So from the last time, you probably, some of you remember, there are a lot of resources. So a lot of virtual machines, solutions already deployed. So solutions are the dashboards in the OMS. So let's say firstly, automation, you need the automation account. So how you add it? So one way is you go here, click plus, and then it's hidden under monitoring and management. Yeah, not like this. More services. Okay, and then you find okay, automation accounts. So I already have 2, so I'll just show you how you add additional one. So you have to give it a name. Out of 2, let's say, for example, it will complain if something is wrong, so it's not, okay, account, good, store says, resource group, use existing, so Western Europe, and location, and create, and that's it. It takes a few minutes, the account is created, and as usual, will not wait for that one. So we'll use the one which we already have. So that's when the automation account is created. This is the state you get. So this one is already a bit modified because while I was preparing for this webinar, I ran some runbooks, some jobs. So you get these statistics after you do something. So when you create a automation account, you have to connect it with the OMS. So the first part in the OMS, you have to, from the solutions gallery, you have to go to automation and control and change tracking, update management. You install these 2. And then, so I already installed them, so it's already there. And another part is you have these connected sources which we were using last time. Okay, account, automation account. You just select the automation account you will use with the OMS. So that's how you connect the Azure and the OMS. So the rest of the automation is then done back to Azure because you configure it a lot. So in the automation account, you have different let's say areas. So we have the, let's say, runbooks, which I will explain a bit later. So this is basically our, let's say, programs. You get some already in the Azure, and you can import additional one, either with your custom PowerShell scripts or a little bit more complex with the graphical. Then the next important part here is assets. So assets are basically some, let's say, your stuff. So you have, let's say, variables, and we'll create, for example, it's good that you create some variables at the beginning, so that you can, let's say, if you use your, that helps you, for example, with your runbook. So typically what you would need is, so add variable, let's say, as subscription ID. So that's the stuff, so to connect. So it's string, it's a value, and it's string create. Then the next one you usually need, if you remember when you're installing the agents, the workspace ID. It's again string. See some spaces, nothing, okay. And the last one, when you install the agent, you need the key. So I just prepared all this stuff in one notepad to be fast, not to search them so much. So, and you can, let's say, this is some kind of password, so you encrypt it. So yeah. So now I have variables. So the next part is credentials. So for example, I will have some credentials, let's say, for some users. So let's give them, let's say, let's give one name Azure credential. So that will be to log into Azure. And since we were also working with on-prem, it's good that you have additional credential, which you then, let's say, for example, you give it a name, domain, let's say, for the user, which have sufficient rights for the local domain. This is demo, so I'm using the administrator. Otherwise, it's not recommended to use the user with less privileges. So now I have I created some variables, I have some credentials. So what else also I have here? I have some modules. So these are different modules. These are already pre-installed. Some can be also additional installed from the, let's say, let's say from the PowerShell gallery. So let's try to install additional one, and I will show you a bit of complication. So if I open here a PowerShell gallery, and then let's say search OMS. So let's say OMS search. Let's try to install. So it's a nice button here, deploy to Azure Automation. And if you're already logged in the another browser, another tab, it will try to log in. But you remember here it's MS, so it's still, let's say, in between old portal and new portal. The challenge here is if you have multiple subscriptions available to your account, this will never work. So it will not show you the the existing Azure automation account, so it will fail. So the workaround here is that you create another account. For example, let's say you create a Microsoft Live ID account. So that's how I have it here in the another browser. So here you see I'm not logged in as a NIL.c, but I'm with Gmail account, so it's a live account. And again, so let's see this OMS search. Let's try to install. And okay, I'm already logged in. Deploy. And yep, you see, I see my accounts, and I can just press OK. Now it will work this in background so we can continue doing other stuff. So we get additional module which you can then use in our automation script. Okay. Okay, so we created a variable. So another, as always, we can also do the same stuff in PowerShell. So I have a PowerShell window here, and I'm logged in. So let's say if your subscription ID, it can be found here. OMS ID can be found at when you connect to the install the agent. Have the information there. So for example, let's say get as usual Azure RM automation account. So you see all the accounts, or let's say automation variable. I have to put the resource group name inside. That's typically, and the next part will be account name. So that one has something. You see, and then get removes it. New creates a new one. So just go to the help, and you can do everything, let's say, also automatically, that they don't go to GUI. Okay. Now we have, let's say, our environment. So the next part, when we have to create some program. So one way to do that is to add our own runbook. So we can create a new one from scratch or import one. So I will do the import. Let's say we prepared ourselves, and these are the examples I mentioned before. So let's say graphical, install. Okay, we'll give it name 2, otherwise because we already have that one yesterday. So I get the new runbook. It's not, I cannot run it yet because it's in the new state. I have to edit it, and let's say check if everything is okay. So this is the PowerShell workflow. So you see it's nice graphical. So how you do this? So you just go to the commandlet here. There are all the commandlet, all the modules which are installed, all the commandlets are exposed here. So for example, if you want to do something with, let's say, there is a PowerShell module for, let's say, VMware, you install it, so import it. You will see the commandlets here, hybrid worker, and you can, let's say, automate your VMware environment. So for whatever you have the PowerShell, you can do here. So how it's done? So this is, let's say, a commandlet. Get Azure, so some parameters. You see that's the automation variable name. So basically it gets the Azure subscription ID. So that's, let's say, we can change this. we can move it, edit, we can test it if it's working correctly, and when we are satisfied, we just do the publish. Publish means it's available to be run. Okay. So now I have a runbook here, published. I can now start it. So this runbook, it depends how the runbook is done. It wants some names. So we have, let's say, this this runbook adds the extension, OMS extension to Azure Windows virtual machine. So we have one Windows 2016 machine. Resource group is okay. Where is our PowerShell? Resource group is that one. Okay, I also have it here, and the location is West Europe, and run on Azure because I don't have, let's say, any hybrid configuration there yet. And when I'm satisfied, I do OK, and it goes to the queue, and it will be run. This will take, let's say, it depends, usually starts running in a few minutes, and then it runs for a few minutes. It's not, let's say, real-time stuff. The idea of this automation is basically a batch processing. So you see it's starting now, it will run in behind. So we'll not wait for that one. It might even fail because the when you deploy the Windows VM in the Azure, it automatically it adds the OMS extension to that because we did last time that kind of part of the configuration. So let's see, more interesting part is that we do this, let's say, on our infrastructure, so on-prem infrastructure. Another part here is, so if you remember, closing a little bit, we have these hybrid worker groups. Currently it's none, so we don't have any. So I have in my environment, I have Windows Server, which already have the, okay, Windows Server, and the already installed the agent, so it's already managed by the OMS. And the thing typically we remember from the last time when we did the network performance monitoring or when we did some other stuff, you change parameters through PowerShell or through registry. So you go to this directory, you all get this, all this information is available in the documentation. So that's how I've got it. So you do import the module, okay. Import module, which is there, and then you add, I already typed it, add hybrid runbook worker. So you create a group name, so that's this hybrid worker groups. Token, it's endpoint and the token. So how do you get this endpoint and token? I will show you later. So let's firstly, okay, so if something is wrong, it will complain. If I go here, refresh, I see a worker group now. Okay, there is also a Robilog Auto. It's a group name, hybrid worker 1. Group can have multiple workers, and then when you specify where your runbook will run, you just specify a group. You cannot specify which worker will take care of it. So that's the name of our server. So now we have capability of doing the stuff on-prem. So then we have to figure out what to do. So there is another nice example provided in this ebook. So let's go back to the runbook. Okay, add a runbook again. Import it from a file. Not that one, sorry. Okay, install management agent. So basically, it will install it will download the management agent from the internet and install it on the machine we specify. It's quite nice stuff because otherwise you have to go to each machine and install it manually. So we have again a new runbook needed. You see, it's PowerShell. We can go a little bit through. So that's the URL where you get the agent, locally install it, and with the key. So that the variables we defined before at the beginning. Domain cracks, OS password ID. Okay. Edit, and I have to publish. Yes. So it's published now, and now I can start it. So server name. I have another server. Let's see. Okay, that one. Okay, let's open one command prompt. Host name. Okay, it's small letters. Okay. Over here. Host name. Yeah. So the site configuration, and you see now I can select the local ones. If I have multiple groups, I can select different groups. Another stuff to show you, program files or control panel. Okay, that we don't have an agent there yet. Microsoft, there is no Microsoft. Okay, no. So over here. Okay, and then the stuff will start running in the back end, and let's see what is happening with. So you can always check. So we have now we went through solutions, runbooks, assets, and the hybrid worker groups. Another part is jobs. So you see that one I told you it will probably fail. It fails because it's already there installed and you get the error. So you can rerun it, change it, this kind of stuff. This one is running. I have to wait to be finished. So it's completed. It was successful. You can see output installation successfully. Okay. Not that one. Let's close and open the control panel. Microsoft Monitoring Agent is there. So you see, and is already connected with the OMS. So, for example, a little bit more of PowerShell scripting, you can look into the computer, let's say, computer folder in the Active Directory, and whenever a new computer appears there, you run the PowerShell with that computer, and then you move the computer to some other, let's say, folder. Okay. It might be, and with that you automatically add the agent to all new computers appears in your environment. Let's say, for example, how you can do it. So okay, that's with you see on-prem. Another good part here is you can also each of the runbooks. So I was running runbooks from the web here. So yeah, it's manually, but how that I can do this with the, let's say from other applications. So one of the stuff is, which will not go into details, otherwise we will be on this call for hours, are webhooks. So basically I create a URL to connect or to start and let's say pass all the needed variables to your runbook through the URL post, or basically a post, and then you can run it from, let's say, your other applications. So that's an additional way. Okay, so another stuff which is here in the automation is DSC, but for, let's say, time's sake, we'll skip it. You can, let's say, look into the details. So again, you create a DSC configuration, and then you just add the nodes through PowerShell to your environment. And then depends on the configuration, you then assign the configuration to DSC node, and then this configuration is, let's say, applied. And even if you change the config, it will change it back to you. So that was the automation part. So let's go back to the OMS. So a little bit about the security. So if you remember from the last time, I have only 3 sources. So today I have 29 computers. I didn't create so many computers. I managed to persuade our IT guys to give me access to our internal System Center Operations Manager. So beside the directly connected servers, some Linuxes and Windows, we also have the System Center Configuration Manager, Operations Manager connected. So that's the reason why we have more information. And of course, there is also, let's say, then we see all, it's a little bit better, a little bit more non-compliant, I would say. So for example, let's say we set security. So you start with the security and audit, and then you have the anti-malware assessment and update management. So these are, let's say, the 3 main areas. So for example, let's go first to anti-malware assessment. So another one, here is the scope. So 1 day, 7 days, or custom. So let's leave it as a 1 day. So you see I have some active threats and I have some quarantine. So let's see what kind of threats are there. So you see the threat is hack tool. So what I did, these are the Windows servers running in the Azure. So to, let's say, have some kind of, let's say, vulnerability, I try to download this Mimekatz tool, which basically gives you the ability to export the digital certificates out of the store, even if private keys should not go out. So it's some kind of exploit, but it's sometimes quite useful tool if you lose your certificate copy and you want to move your certificate or copy the certificate to another computer. So you see, it's active threat, so I see it, and who is doing it, so, and who did the, who prevented me. That's one part. So another part here, so threat name, and Windows 2016 is quarantined because on test 1 I'm using the endpoint protection. Here I'm just using the Windows Defender, so it behaves differently. The others are, so no real-time protection, so it looks like it's not enabled, so that's the reason why I get more. So this is anti-malware. Another part is update. So as I told you before, if you have a computer which uptime 1,000 days, it doesn't matter if it's a Windows or Linux or Unix, you shouldn't have it because it's a security, I would say it's a security issue. It's a disaster because for you everything is zero-day attack. So again, you see which one is missing, and also what you can do. So you can also run the, I'll show you later on, you can also run the remediation from directly from the OMS. So let's go now to the biggest security part. So you give it a little bit more. So 7 days. For example, update assessment. Yeah, get back, sorry, manage update. For example, I can add, let's say, Win 2016. My computer here. One time, start, what's the time right now? So in 1 hour. So I can force this from here, that updating will be done automatically, so I don't have to go to the computer. If I have, let's say, multiple computers and the, let's say, around. Okay, let's go back to the one. So let's say identity and access. You see who is trying to log into your environment. So 7 days, a little bit, let's say, too much. 1 day, if it's 100% failed, you don't care. But let's say, for example, this one, it's not 100% failed, so it managed to log in. So 99% of time it's failed, and it's also administrator. So then you look at which computer, and this is probably, if you see that this computer, let's say, for example, somebody is trying 140 times to log in, and it failed most of the time. And can we see the, no, I can't. So, but it managed to then log in. That's probably more trouble for you than just failed logins. So let's say you still have to use some kind of, let's say, your intelligence. It's not automatically. Another here, so we can, let's say, depends on the threads you have. So what's also update? Again, we get, okay, we've seen that. Anti-malware we've seen, computers we've seen, threat intelligence is your security center. You get to Azure, so links back to Azure, to the security center there. So recommendation, this kind of stuff, what is the, okay, hi, virtual machines. So system updates on that one is missing, endpoint. So the idea of all these dashboards is that you get some best practices, let's say, which Microsoft accumulated through the years, and then let's say you don't have to search through the internet what are the best practices, but you just apply them. So you see here that the reason system updates is not running, so yeah, something is wrong. It's not good. Networking, let's see what is the complaints about networking. Yeah, NSG, so there is no firewall, next generation firewall. Yeah, I did it on purpose here to get some information. So I left it open, let's say RDP port and SSH port directly on the internet, which you shouldn't do. but I use it to get some kind of these failed logins. So all the failed logins you've seen are from the are on these Azure machines. Hopefully not on the machines on our on-prem environment. So another stuff here with the security, it's not just the let's say general, it's also about, let's say, SQL. So for example, this is, let's say, not a good stuff. So one or more SQL servers have same password, same login. What? SA, or administrator. So this kind of stuff. So it shouldn't be there. So, and then there is also for Exchange, for the systems are being added daily, or different solutions are being added on nonstop. Okay, so that's we are what, 48 minutes from start. So that's, I think we should conclude now. So I showed you quite a lot about the automation. I think it's a quite useful tool to start, let's say, exploring. Try to start doing some, let's say, small task. Create a small runbooks, or even, let's say, find the runbooks on, let's say, PowerShell gallery, or maybe you already have some PowerShells which you are already using, and start using them. And then try to automate as much as possible, because then you will have more time for, let's say, more interesting stuff to do, and there will be a lot less mistakes, because the computer does exactly told it to do, and nothing else and nothing more. If it's done 100 times, it will be done also next 100 times the same. With the security, it's a lot of information, but you still have to, let's say, I would say, periodically check what's happening in your environment. Otherwise, the alarms, the messages will be just there, and they will disappear when the, let's say, the window you were looking in, they are out of the window you are currently looking in. So that's from my side. Thank you for your time and your attention.